morning, and I hope you're doing real good today. All right, now there has been a lot of press out there about mermaids. Yes, tons and tons and tons of press about this. Now I watched this Animal Planet on demand with my Comcast. I'm gonna check out the next one on Sunday. I'm trying to think, make sure my other TV show doesn't come on Falling Skies, which whoop whoop, I love that show. But anyways, mermaids is really hot right now. Now I watched this thing, like I said, I watched this thing Sunday night on Animal. I mean, not on. I watched it on demand the other night, and I was just like, duh! I was like stuck into the TV show. Now, here's the thing. Okay, according to the show, there are mermaids out there. The Navy, imagine this, the Navy has a sonar weapon that is very, very powerful. And what it's doing is it's very equivalent to throwing a grenade in the water and your head is near, or your head is submerged in the water and the grenade is, maybe a few feet away or whatnot. And what happens is if you throw a grenade in the water and you're in the water submerged, and what'll happen is it'll blow your eardrums. So the Navy is has this very powerful sonar. I mean, this bad boy is powerful. I mean, it's literally causing the beaching of massive amounts of whales. So what happened was Noah. Okay, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. My son's talking to me. Sorry, my son was telling me he figured out how to on Transformers to transform into a car, Bumblebee. So I gotta go check that out in a minute. But anyways, so on Animal Planet here, the Noah, nor I think now don't quote me on this, but NOAA. All right, they, if you know Noah, if you know anything about water and the air, atmosphere, and stuff like that, that's what Noah's about. Okay, so Noah was investigating these beach whales. Now if you haven't seen this program, you really got to check it out. I'll make sure that there's a link on my below this video so you can check out this mermaid stuff. And man, I'm telling you, this is crazy. It's really, really, really crazy, and it's very interesting. So Noah was investigating this phenomenon about these beach whales. They want to know why, so they started doing biopsies and or autopsies, wherever you call them, and they cut out the eardrums and did these tissue samples and blah blah blah. So the first one happened out in Washington, out west. Okay, this massive beaching of the whales. Now they were doing all this these tests and stuff, but one lead researcher had some real, he noticed that all the whales had the same thing. They had bleeding coming from their ears, which is strange. And then that there was a massive presence of the U.S. Navy on the scene. And he was real curious. Okay, they were cutting open a animal on the beach, right? And there's like this big, Navy present around these certain animals that was on the beach, but these other beach whales, they weren't cut in any kind of way. But these few species that was on the beach that washed up the shore with these beach whales, the Navy was spending a significant amount of time on, and they were actually, doing stuff to the bodies that washed up on the shore. Okay, now this is kind of strange. Now, I may put myself out on a ledge here, but I'm telling you, this whole mermaids thing is really, really crazy here. I'm telling you. So the lead researcher, wanted to know what the Navy was doing because he noticed that none of the whales had any type of surgical cuts on them at all. It was whatever they had, they took it away and they secured it. Okay, so this guy went on, and finally, later in the show, there was this issue. The same issue had happened in South Africa. The Navy used this sonar, and these beach whales started showing up on the beach and whatnot. Okay, same thing. They went out there and they conducted research, and they had the sonar buoy so they could pick up the sound of this weapon. Now it's crazy because when they had the sonar reading on the screen, it sounded like if you ever played Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if you ever played that, but on Metal Gear Solid, they used to have this thing, and it sounded really weird. Go, I mean, it sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. I kid you not, man. You gotta watch the show. You gotta watch it. So it had this weird sound, and then it was like really low. It sounded like it was sharp. I mean, I'm serious. It's right out of a sci-fi movie. This sound, okay. And so, anyways, this sound would go off, and then and then it would kind of fade out, and then it would like this big massive noise, and then I mean, just the whole freaking ocean sound up in the area of this sound meter. I mean, it just opened up with seals and whales and all this stuff, and dolphins, and they go they go crazy, right? So anyways, they go crazy, and there's these other voice patterns. I mean, here's a wave pattern for the whales, right? And then here come right behind it this like huge voice pattern right behind it, and they didn't know what it was. It's like interesting. It's like, okay, you have these beach whales, and then you have these other things that's showing up that the Navy's not talking about and saying that they don't exist, and then you have these voice patterns that only happen when the Navy fire out this sonar signal. Okay, like I said, you have the sound, then you have the it starts up, and then you have the big sound, and then you have the whales and the dolphins go off, and then you have this big old voice pattern. Now the audiologist, I mean, there's a bunch of doctors on there. I say there's about 6 or 7 doctors on there. The audiologist said that, or the sonar guy, whatever you want to call him, he said that the way the whales and the dolphins had a pattern. He said I got that. I know that. But these anomalies, or these other voice patterns, he said these are people, not people, but these are something out there is talking to each other, and it was only after this incident. So the story goes on, and then they also talk about fish, fishery and sharks and stuff would come up, would be captured sometimes, and they would have these strange spears in it. So there's this, and going back to South Africa, there was this great white shark that was captured, okay? And this great white shark, inside the belly of this great white shark was this animal, okay? Now, remember earlier when I was said that these, there would be fish out there and sharks out there with these strange objects in the side of them, like they were stabbed? Well, the researcher was inspecting this great white shark, okay? And inside this great white shark was this little barb. This barb was from a what's this thing called? I can't think of it. Not starfish, but the big flappy one. I can't think of the name of it right now. Oh shoot, the one with the barb that killed the crocodile hunter. I can't think of the name of it. If you know it, put it at the bottom in the comments. But anyways, the barb. Now these stingrays, that's what it's called. The stingray. Normally, smaller sharks eat stingrays, not the great white. The great white does not mess with stingrays, okay? But this great white had a stingray barb in its side. Well, right under his jaw. It had a stingray barb in there, okay? And there was all these other puncture wounds on this great white shark, okay? And the researcher said, this could be just something different, and he was going to write it in a journal later. So anyways, they pull the guts out of the shark, and they started piecing together this body, okay? First they thought it was a mantis, okay? Because this big fin in the rear, okay, this big fin was huge. And they was piecing together, and they was thinking it was a mantis, but a mantis does not have bones in his tail. So the mantis was ruled out. And then they started doing other research. They started doing research and piecing together the fin. And they noticed that it wasn't a normal fin. It looked more like a hand. And his hand, as they pieced it together, it looked more like a human hand. And it was like, I mean, they didn't want to say it. I mean, they was really pressed about not saying what it really was because they're doctors, you know. And he said that scientists do not believe in fairy tales at all, at all. So this is very interesting that these scientists are not believing in this fairy tale, and they keep doing this research and research and more research on this body that's inside this great shark from South Africa. Okay, so they do this research, and they're doing tissue samples and everything, and then they find another thing inside. Remember that barb I was telling you about that was stuck inside the shark's mouth? Well, they found this other objects inside the shark's mouth. Okay, and it was more like a tool, because I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna take this Patterson book here. Okay, so this shark had inside his belly, along with his body, was this barb. So let's just say here's the barb from the stingray, okay, and then here's this object that was made out of bone, okay, bone or some hard material that could be submerged. So here's this bone object, and then what they could do was that they could take the barb and they can put it inside this bony structure, and it was long. It was like this weapon, like whatever was inside this great. I'm not mad at, you know, I know I'm not making this up. I know people are like, dude, you're nuts, but I'm telling you, I'm dead on with this. Okay, I'm telling the truth about this. So anyways, so they have this weapon, and it's inside this great white shark along with this body. And they're like, there's no way that there's an intelligent creature out there that's making these weapons. I'm telling you, this is true. You got to watch this, Animal Planet. The link below this video will tell you all about it. It's nuts, I'm telling you. I mean, this thing really has got my sci-fi juices like this. I'm watching this again. I got to see more of this. Okay. And it was long. I mean, this program was long. Okay. So anyways, they do more research. And bottom line is this, that as much as they didn't want to say it, what happened, what it ended up happening to be was a real life mermaid. Okay, so here's a sad part about it. Right when they were about to bring it back to the U.S. for further studies and classify it and everything, they had noticed that they had went home for the day, and they came back, and then the African government seized everything and took it. Yes. I know, the old government story, how they come and take stuff from you. So anyways, they protest Washington and protest the African government, and later received information. Okay, they received information from the African government. They wrote them a letter to NOAA, and the African government said that that the organ, or not organ, but the body that they had found after the lab test said there was something wrong with the DNA test, because the DNA test came back that this property, or this object or body, a cadaver, or whatever you want to call it, was closely related, too close related to being a human being. So they just threw the test results out, and they destroyed the body because they said this is not right. So they did more research, and I don't want to tell the whole story, but I'm going to say this: you got to watch this program on Animal Planet about these mermaids. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, to date. Okay, this is really nuts. And if you want to make some money from blogging and stuff like that, learn how to make some money and some personal development stuff, click the link below this video. But anyways, this mermaid stuff, Animal Planet, you got to check it out. Craziest thing I've ever seen, and I just think it's just man, it's nuts. So Clinton Douglas here with my video for today, and interesting stuff about this mermaid stuff. So stay tuned, man. I want to watch more about this stuff coming up here. All right, Clinton Douglas, take care. Bye-bye.